live on your tablet, phone, and the KUTV app. This is 2 News Live.
Thanks for joining us on 2 News Live. I'm Brian Schnee. It is another Monday edition of the show, the 22nd of January. Tonight, we're going in depth on Utah's gender restroom bill right now that's being discussed up on Utah's Capitol Hill as part of the legislative session that is now a few days underway. As always, if you'd like to get in touch with us throughout the show, you can always do so by using the hashtag 2 News Live to join our conversation. You can find us on Facebook, on X, on Instagram. Send a DM anywhere, of course, or just comment if you'd like to weigh in. Let's talk about it, shall we? Some emotional debate at the Utah State Capitol as the transgender bathroom bill gets heard by the Senate committee. Transgender bathroom bill would prohibit anyone from using bathrooms or locker rooms that don't align with their biological sex. Paul Nelson at the Capitol. He was inside the meeting there today. Paul, what were you hearing on Utah's Capitol Hill this afternoon?
Well, there was definitely a point of debate kind of on both sides of it. Very calm, very civil. There were about 8 people who came to speak in favor of the bill that would prohibit transgender people from using the bathroom of the gender that they identify with. However, on the opposite side, there was a line that went seriously all around the committee room, and it wasn't a small room either, so a lot of people came out to speak against it. Some of the main critics, what they were saying was that they believe that this bill just targets the transgender community that already has a high level of anxiety, a high suicide rate as well, and they say that this basically will lead to bullying itself. So their claims that when Kira Birkeland, the representative whose bill this was, said that this is an anti-bullying bill, some people actually came out and said that's not going to happen. We're going to get more bullied if we go into a room where we are not welcome. So that was that was the emotional debate that came out on the Capitol floor today. As a matter of fact, that bill, it did pass though 5-3, and so it's going to go to the full Senate for a vote.
Paul, I'm glad you mentioned that. I was wondering what the ultimate result of that is. That is a narrow vote, by the way, 5-3. Clearly has some feelings on both sides. I know you've been at the Capitol here since the session got underway last week. Where does this bill align in the priorities and in the conversations that have taken up the first week of the general session?
This seems to be one of the most popular bills to talk about. For example, it was on their list of trending bills. This one and the DEI bill at schools. Those two were the top 2 trending bills. When it comes to the committee, they had a long discussion about it. Matter of fact, this was the 5th thing on their agenda because they wanted to, in their words, clear out some of the easier stuff first so that they can dedicate more time to this particular bill. One thing that some committee members actually pointed out, one of them actually said, well, can't you just basically affect the same kind of law? Can't you have the same kind of protection if you just beef up trespassing laws or maybe loitering laws? And then another asked, well, does this bill do anything to protect, say, a child from a predator who is of the same biological sex and is allowed to use that same bathroom? So those were some of the questions that came out basically challenging Representative Birkeland about this particular bill. But in the end, it did pass by a 5-3 vote.
For us tonight. Paul, thank you very much. So we'll continue to obviously cover this bill as it makes its way through the session. And before we move on, just early on, some of these bills that do get lots of discussion, there's a reason for that. As Paul mentioned, they want to give them a lot of time to be discussed as they move through the process. Salt Lake City officials have voiced their disapproval of Utah's gender restroom bill after it passed the House last week, now through that committee in the Senate today. The statement reads, "This bill sends a hostile and demeaning message to transgender and non-binary Utahns and creates greater division in our community by compromising the safety and dignity of certain groups of people over others." You can read the full statement as well as reaction from Salt Lake County Mayor Jenny Wilson on our website right now, KUTV.com. And as the legislative session continues, stay with KUTV 2 News. We'll be tracking the bills and the issues that impact you and your family. There are hundreds and hundreds of pieces of legislation that'll be discussed over the next 5.5 to 6 weeks. You can find all of this, KUTV.com and our 2 News mobile app. Be sure to download the mobile app if you'd like to get alerts sent to your phone. Voters go to the polls in New Hampshire tomorrow for the first in the nation primary. The race is down to former President Donald Trump and former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. Haley now the only Republican left challenging Trump. After Florida Governor Ron DeSantis dropped out, she will need independents to come out in force Tuesday to pull off a surprise.
It is now a two-person race. And what that means is your decision tomorrow is, do we want more of the same, or do we want a new generational leader?
Trump was at a courthouse in New York this morning, but he's due in New Hampshire tonight for a rally before tomorrow's voting, raising new concerns about misinformation and AI in this campaign. A fake robocall impersonating President Joe Biden is encouraging New Hampshire Democrats to not vote and not show up to vote on Tuesday. The Democratic National Committee says their party's New Hampshire primary results won't be recognized. That's because the Democratic National Committee altered their nominating schedule in an attempt to put more diverse states in play. In order to comply with the DNC's rules, President Biden did not file to appear on the New Hampshire ballot, but a group of New Hampshire Democrats who hope Biden can still secure a big win put together the Write in Biden campaign. So they're going to try to write in the president right now to that ballot in New Hampshire. Meanwhile, Vice President Kamala Harris in Wisconsin today launching a reproductive freedom tour. Abortion expected to play a large role in the November election for the Biden administration. Harris blasted former President Donald Trump, the current GOP frontrunners who have told you, for bragging about his Supreme Court picks, which led to Roe v. Wade being struck down.
Proud that women across our nation are suffering? Proud that women have been robbed of a fundamental freedom? How dare he?
Harris not only made the case for re-electing Biden, but for other Democratic leaders in Congress as well. She says they can restore the protections of Roe v. Wade if Democrats win back the majority, but warned that Republicans will try to pass a nationwide abortion ban. Trump has not indicated whether he would sign such legislation. President Biden, the First Lady, VP Harris, and Second Gentleman will hold a joint abortion rights rally tomorrow in the state of Virginia. As we head into the election season, stay with us here at KUTV 2 News. Latest on those poll numbers, interviews, of course, with candidates posted online and on our KUTV YouTube page. Well, this morning, a warning from Salt Lake City Police about the dangers of black ice after a driver lost control of his truck and drove into a building. This happened in the area of 650 West, 17th South. The driver hit some slick spots, apparently, slid and collided with the building. Building didn't move, tearing a hole in the aluminum siding. Black ice can be hard to spot and appear to look like a wet road. So you know what to do. Try to give yourself the following distance. Take it easy. I mean, typically when you're waking up, there's that little sheen on the, not a schnee, but a sheen on the roadway. You can see that little glimmer too. Like, you know, just be aware of that this time of year, especially with the melting we've had the last couple days.
Exactly, yeah. And I always like to practice safe driving as if, you know, the wet roads are actually ice. But I take it as if it is ice, especially when the sun's down. You never really know until you're on top of it and all of a sudden you're sliding, going 60 miles an hour, however fast he's going into
How we doing here? Look at this.
All right, so this is for Salt Lake City at the airport. We are above normal now, and we're actually above normal for the month already, yet we've got 10 days left to go. It doesn't look like we're going to have a whole lot more snow to add on top of it, but it's good news as far as, you know, the snowpack goes, and just here in the Salt Lake Valley, it's been good as far as the snowfall goes.
Surprising to some after last year, right? You think that maybe that number would look different,
right,
but it was different months that resulted in more snowfall. But then again, you're looking at Salt Lake City. You're not looking at the Altiplot.
Exactly. No,
so
not different yet. But and then the other thing to think of is last year, maybe we had some milder weather that had some of this snow changing to rain, right, or maybe we had some of the wetter snow. This year we've had really cold, dry snow whenever it snowed. So those snow totals do stack up while the water amounts stay relatively light.
Nice to ski on.
Yeah.
Tell you that.
All right, let's go ahead and get to your forecast real quick, and I'll show you what else we're looking at. So what's even better than snowfall, like I just said, is the amount of precipitation that falls within the snow. So far, we are above normal to date here in Salt Lake City, 1.16 inches on the month of January, when normally we would have right around an inch. By the end of the month, we should be closer to 1.4 inches. Last year, like I said, really wet, but also pretty mild. So we had a little bit of rain or that really dense snow falling here in the Salt Lake Valley, and of course, heavy snowfall up in the mountains. Here's our snowpack across the state. We are at 103% of median, doing really well, especially here in northern Utah. Central Utah not doing too bad either, but southern and southwestern Utah could receive more snow. And I've got good news for you. There is forecasted precipitation over the next couple of days down there. And just a reminder, it's not about the skiing entirely. It's 90% of Salt Lake City's water supply does come from that Wasatch snowpack. So it's really good to see those numbers. And a lot of people, of course, are still asking about the Great Salt Lake. How's it doing? Well, we are still up 0.6 feet since its low in October. And again, the historic low was last year, and we're about 2.5, 3 feet above that. So we're still doing pretty well. Current elevation's at 4192.6, and we're still losing a little bit of water down in Lake Powell each and every day, losing about 1.3 inches. And here's what the snowpack looks across the rest of the West, doing pretty poorly here in Arizona and California, but there's good news. We have winter storm warnings, winter weather advisories in those exact areas that we need them. These aren't for us, but these places that could use a little bit more snow are going to be getting some over the next couple of days, and they're getting rain as well. Some low elevation rain falling now along the Sierra towards Los Angeles. That's where our center of low pressure is, streaming up that moisture into Las Vegas, western Arizona, and eventually the Phoenix metro over the next couple of hours, where they don't see a whole lot of rain during the year, but they will get a little bit of a good soaking over the next 24 hours. Future track shows maybe a couple light showers here in St. George. They look to just be hanging out around your periphery through tomorrow morning. Could see a little bit of snow here along I-15 through central and southern Utah. It's not going to add up to a whole lot, but just be aware that there may be a couple flakes flying. Brian Head could pick up a couple inches out of that. Then we've got this dry cold front approaching for Tuesday night, and it's not going to do a whole lot for us here in northern Utah. It might cool down our temperatures a little bit, kick up that breeze, but it will produce some mountain snow showers overnight Tuesday into very early Wednesday. And then we're dry most of the day on Wednesday, really across the state. And then we've got another storm coming in Wednesday afternoon into the evening and through Thursday. Now, this one's going to likely start as rain here in the Salt Lake Valley, as well as much of the Wasatch Front, but then it might change over to snow, especially right around the mid-morning. This is 9 o'clock. That's when we'll start to see that colder air filtering around behind this low, and that'll give us some snow showers across much of the state. It's going to be rather scattered in nature. We're not expecting any real heavy accumulation, but just be aware that we will have snow likely in the forecast on Thursday, especially here in northern Utah. In St. George, drizzle and light rain tomorrow, mostly cloudy on Wednesday, again on Thursday. Clear skies for the weekend as we've got a ridge of high pressure building in, and those temperatures start to go up closer to 60 by the time we get to the early part of next week. And here in Salt Lake City, we're watching the haze forecast, because with that ridge building in and a little bit of snow on the ground potentially once we get through Thursday, we could be dealing with some haze issues again. And I'm going to bring up that Cottonwood Canyons forecast just so what we can see.
Ridge, go away.
I know.
I don't want to deal with you.
We don't want to deal with it either, right? Temperatures in the 30s for the next couple of days, cooling off on Thursday with that snow. Should be a pretty good day. Just be careful getting up and down the canyon as usual, especially Thursday afternoon. I think that's going to be the tricky spot. All
right. Thank you, Trent. Remember to download our 2 News weather app to know about the changes in your neighborhood. You can get the updated forecasts, the live radar right on your phone. The app is free to download. Here on 2 News Live, want to give you a live look, if we can, from a UDOT camera here in Harrisville right now. Setting the scene for you, 89 and Wall. You see it on the corner there of your screen. Part of Wall Avenue closed. A number of, first responders, law enforcement agencies, firefighters on scene of a structure fire. The address is at that storage facility, which is in the right-hand side of your screen there, where you can see that thick black smoke coming from. We've been looking at this camera for a few minutes here, of course, working to get some more information, but what you see on your screen is what you get. Wall Avenue is closed to through traffic. Of course, it is time of day where people are heading home. I do believe this is a storage unit facility. You look at it on a Google map and you can see a number of different sort of storage units there when you look in a little bit closer. We've been watching that black smoke move kind of across that building there in the distance. As we get more information, we will be sure to bring it to you here on air and online, KUTV.com. California woman arrested for allegedly stealing $2,500 worth of Stanley tumblers. It happened last week at a store near Sacramento. Staff reported seeing the 23-year-old woman leave the store with a cart full of the pricey water bottles. They they do run a pretty price tag. They say the woman refused to stop and stuffed her car with the stolen merch and took off. These pictures are, in a way, kind of funny because we've talked a lot about these Stanleys over, the Valentine's Day ones that got scooped up at the Target store in a matter of seconds. They reportedly found 65 Stanley cups, not for the hockey fans out there, but Stanley branded cups. The woman was arrested for grand theft. I would like you to know that my Stanley cup is still on my desk. It was not harmed by theft here. Trent, are you a proud owner of a Stanley Cup?
No, but I was about to say it's the hardest trophy to win in all professional
Yeah,
sports, isn't
I was
it?
waiting
We're on
for
the same.
sports
We're on the
reference
same
here.
wavelength. I do actually own a Stanley Cup, but it's one I think I bought 12 years ago. It's one of those older ones.
I want you
Classic.
to know Stanley has been around for a while.
A while.
So these new tumblers,
They're
you
cute.
they're cool, they're cute, they're expensive, but if you're an OG Stanley user, you know what you got at home. Reminder, you can find KUTV 2 News Live on your phone, your tablet, your computer. You can stream our newscasts